Would the people right at the back please come to that centre microphone? In the meantime, over here, yes.
Quite some time ago, you said that life was very much like driving a car, but only being able to look into the rear vision mirror. After you've gone, who's going to drive the bus?
I made a strange discovery about the rearview mirror, having accused a lot of people of living in the rearview mirror and having meant by that that they were out of date, that they were 19th century minds. I then took another look into the rearview mirror on my own. I was not criticized. I did this on my own. And I discovered, somewhat to my surprise, that when you look in the rearview mirror, you do not see what has gone past. You see what is coming. And the rearview mirror is the foreseeable future. It is not the past at all. The title, the phrase rearview mirror, appears to distort the situation. Most people think of it instinctively from the sound of the phrase, it must be the past. In terms of media, of course, the thing that is occupying the foreground in terms of the rearview mirror is nostalgia. Nostalgia is the name of the game in every part of our world today, including the program Roots. But nostalgia is not, well, it's a kind of rearview mirror if you like, but it's also the shape of things to come. When people have been stripped of their private identities, they develop huge nostalgia. And nostalgia for the jeans and Levi's of the young today are nostalgia for granddad's overalls. His work clothes have now become the latest costume. But this is a rather mysterious thing. The costumes worn by the young, the fashionable costumes, are really very old hat and nostalgic. And someone called it international motley. That the costumes worn by the young today are a kind of international motley or clown costume. And paradoxically, the clown is a person with a grievance. His role in medieval society was to be the voice of grievance. The clown's job was to tell the emperor or tell the royalty exactly what was wrong with the society. He often lost his head in the process. But the clown, the international motley of our time, the clown is trying to tell us his grievance. The beards and the hairdos and the costumes of the young are a manifestation of grievance and anger. You've heard about the streakers, a kind of manifestation of anger about the lack of jobs and goals in our world. In America, we call them passing fannies, but I understand it has a different meaning here.
It's more restrictive, yes. Yes.
Professor, I'm asking this question, which I think is very relevant for people today who are looking for an identity, who are searching for a kind of responsible attitude towards the media. Since in the 20th century we're so conditioned, hemmed in by the media, should we be teaching our children what value judgments they should really make concerning different programs they should watch on TV or different programs they should listen on the radio as part of their development of achieving adult maturity?
Answer is yes. But one of the peculiarities of electric speed is that it pushes all the unconscious factors up into consciousness. This began with Freud and Einstein back in 1900. But the hidden aspects of the media are the things that should be taught because they have an irresistible force when invisible. When these factors remain ignored and invisible, they have an absolute power over the user. So, yes, the sooner that the population, or the young or old, can be taught the effects of these forms, the sooner we can have some sort of reasonable ecology among the media themselves. What is desperately needed is a kind of understanding of the media which would permit us to program the whole environment so that, say, literate values would not be wiped out by new media. If you understand the nature of these forms, you can neutralize some of their adverse effects and foster some of their beneficent effects. This, we have never reached this level of awareness.
We can never reach that level of awareness.
I have been working for that for a long time. You may be surprised to hear that the Finnegan's Wake of Mr. James Joyce is one of the top guides to the effects of media. The work is entirely devoted to that theme. And the thunders in Finnegan's Wake are statements of the effects of particular media. The last thunder in Finnegan's Wake on page 424 is television. And with all its effects, social consequences carefully dramatized. Finnegan's Wake is a drama, it's a play. And the actors in the play are the media themselves. Very few Joyceans know this.
In the fourth row, yes.
Professor McLuhan, up till now, while television may have dominated our minds and our lives, the actual box in the corner hasn't dominated our living room. But large-screen television sets are being developed, screens, say, the size of a living room wall. Yeah. What effect do you think that will have? Will we tolerate giants watching us?
It's I think, very important thing to keep in mind, very important question. I am not, personally, I haven't seen those big screens. They tend to have them out on the playgrounds or the playfields in America. They tend to have these great big screens for the game itself, so that you can watch the game on television while the game is in process. This is a kind of situation that I think it invites an enormous awareness of actual process to participate in the kind of replay of the thing while it is still ongoing. Participation in replay is a form of pattern recognition that is new in the media and has, I'd say, rather large consequences, mostly cognitive, mostly consequences that will affect our nature of our cognition and awareness, and I would think entirely in the direction of extreme self-awareness. I once asked a famous quarterback in American football on television, once asked him what the effect of the instant replay had been on the game of football. And he said, "We have now to play the game in such a way that the audience can watch the actual process that we're performing. They're not any longer interested just in the effect of the play. They want to see the nature of the play. So they've had to open up the play on the field to enable the audience to participate more fully in the process of football play. It's an unexpected effect. I think it would be an effect that would extend also to our educational world, to the classroom. That the future of education requires that we pay much attention to the media we're employing as forms of study. Not necessarily, the hardware, merely the hardware skill in the use of cameras and of microphones, but awareness of the nature of the operation.
When you said that television uses the eye as an ear, what did you mean by that?
It is a phrase of Tony Schwartz in a very interesting book called The Responsive Chord. What he means literally is that the image is constituted by millions of these resonating particles. There are no pictures on television. There are no snapshots. There's no shutter. There's no camera. There is an outpouring of these small bits of information in patterns that are entirely active and dynamic. So they resonate. So he was really saying that the television image is primarily not a visual but resonating form of experience.
Yes, with the glasses. No, behind you. Sorry, I had to call. No, all right. I'm sorry. You go ahead then. Too late.
Professor McLuhan, is television the ultimate medium, or is there worse to come?
You've heard of the hologram? The hologram goes completely around you. Television only goes a little bit around you. The hologram is 360 degrees. But it's been anticipated by the rock music, in which you have to become just enclosed in a sound bubble. The hologram does for TV what rock does for auditory entertainment. But the hologram is technically here.
Yes, in the front row.
Professor McLuhan, earlier you spoke about us as going out rather for our privacy and coming home for the social aspect. I'd like to hear you comment on that in relation to electronic man's new thirst for meditation, contemplation, mystical experience.
We're being asked about the relation of this inside-outside on the life of meditation. Well, as you know, the transcendental meditation has become exceedingly popular. All forms of mystic meditation have become very popular in our television age. The East, we have gone very far to the East since television. Just as an exercise in awareness and so on, meditation has come in very big since television. I'm not sure that is good or bad at all. It just has happened. And do you think of it as a very significant event?
I think of it as very significant, yes. It seems to me almost like a nostalgia for a return to that private self without going outdoors to find it. Mm-hmm. Return to an inner union with God, with yourself, which electronic man seems to need and is looking for in this way.
Jane Austen, of all people, has quite a big comment on that inside-outside. She said that people go outside to be alone just to prove their inner resources, that they don't need people. We can make it alone. And that the Romantic movement was based upon this psychic development. Jane Austen has quite a bit to say about that, of all people. I was amazed to come across it in her work a few months ago. But there's another American writer, Hawthorne, who regarded this American habit of going outside to be alone as an undermining of democracy. He said, this is sheer aristocracy. This is putting on the aristocratic thing, and it is going to undermine our whole democracy. So Hawthorne regarded it with great alarm. The moralist, by the way, is always a person who never studies effects so much as studies the content of situations. Studies the figure and not the ground. This, I think, is of great concern to advertisers who are here tonight in some numbers. Advertisers tend to study figure and not the ground. They tend to count noses rather than to estimate the pressures under the noses. The form of gnosis.
Do we have an advertiser who would like to pick that up, or we haven't heard from one? No? In the centre then.